Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of How Do I Do This Anyways? Today's topic of conversation, building a bridge, a truss specifically, and then analyzing it, doing a stress test on it. That one's pretty. So let's go ahead and get started on this. You want to click File, New, and then you want to be in your English template, or at least I'm going to be. You can be in metric and work in millimeters if you'd like. I don't care for this purpose. I'm going to work in inches because it works better in my mind. Going to click Start 2D Sketch, and I'm just going to start it on this XY plane, so that way my view cube, the front view of that is right there, front and center. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start out with the outline of my truss. I'm going to make a simple rectangular truss, just because of time. You can make whatever shape you want, all right? Now, I've got that. I'm going to go ahead and grab my offset tool and bring this in by 0.25 inches, because we have quarter-inch balsa wood. I'm going to click Finish Sketch, and I'm left like that. I'm going to hit the E button in order to extrude, and I want to extrude that ring. And I want to extrude it a distance of 0.25 inches. Cool. Now we've got this thing, right? I love it. Start another sketch, and I'm going to put that sketch on the surface of that thing, okay? First thing I'm going to do with that sketch, this is where I'm going to create the webbing of my truss. I'm going to project my geometry. So I'm going to project the geometry of the inside of this delightful thing, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my line tool, and I'm going to make it a construction line. And the first thing I want is a midpoint, okay? Because I want my bridge to be symmetrical across the middle. I want that mid-plane line right there, okay? The next thing I want to do is I want to just drop another line in here. Right there, okay? Now I'm going to grab my dimension tool and make sure that this is the midplane. And because I want to reference that. Now that wants to drive a dimension, we want to accept it for now, okay? It's saying that we can't specify a different dimension here than what is there. And typically with the dimension tool, you tell it what dimensions you're using. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and tell it that, or use that to reference here, because we're going to say equals that dimension divided by 2. Hit enter, and that gives me a midpoint here. Now, I'm going to grab my line tool. I'm going to make sure I'm in construction lines, and I'm going to come around here. You see how I got my green dot? You want to make sure you're making these constraints. So it flashes green, and when I pull it away, I don't have a line trailing after me, okay? Make sure you're doing that, because if you don't, you're going to be making a different type of line, and you want to make sure you have all of the constraints when you have to do your extrusion. All right, so those are my construction lines. Now I'm going to turn off my construction lines, and I'm going to grab my offset tool again. And what it's going to do is when I click this line, it's going to grab all of those lines that are construction lines. I want to go ahead and let it do that, but I want to type in 0.125 because I want to use those as my center lines. And it drives them off to the side by 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to do the same thing in the opposite direction, 0.125. Now, if yours, you have to select other lines, or if you have to do more offsets, that's perfectly fine. Hopefully it works out for you. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a ring, okay? I want to make this ring so that way my truss, when I go and mirror this thing, it has all of the closed geometry I need in this sketch. So being sure to be careful to have my coincidence constraints made. All right, so now what this does is it makes this whole thing a closed shape for me. Now, since I've got these tails sticking out, I'm going to go ahead and use my trim tool in order to clean those up, and in order to make sure that it generates these coincidence constraints on my ring line. Okay, clicking it, just going around, trimming, making sure that the constraints are there. I'm going to get rid of that whole line because I don't need it. We're going to mirror this stuff that we're doing over here across this central mirror line. Leave that tail right here, leave that tail right there. Click Click. All right, so now I've got coincidence constraints all around. Now I want to grab my mirror tool. Where is it? Right there. I want to carefully select my geometry that I'm going to mirror. And then I want to grab my mirror line. Now I want to apply it. Boom. Okay. Now we can click done. What we're now going to do is we are going to finish this sketch and we're going to extrude that sketch. Now, this, you have to be very careful about what you're extruding. So you want it to highlight green and you want to click on it. Now, I'm going to click and let it be brought out, but actually I want to push it inwards. So go ahead and push that way. And you just want to go through here and carefully make sure that you click the areas you want. Now, when you inevitably accidentally click an area you don't want, like that one, click it again, hold Control, click it again, okay? Make sure that you're getting all of the geometry, all of the extrusions, okay? So, if you find you can't extrude an area, it's because it's not a closed shape and you didn't have your constraints in place like I told you to. Good luck with that. Click okie dokie. There we go. We have now done it. Cool. I love it. Now what we want to do is we want to run our stress test on it. So I'm going to come over here to the Environments tab and I'm going to do a stress analysis. Okay. We're going to create a study. This all means something that you'll learn later on in life. Just click OK. Now we need to assign a property or a material. Okay. Generic material doesn't have anything, doesn't have the attributes we need. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go with one of these steels. I like, let's go with carbon, why not? When you're doing your bridge, we will use wood. We will enter some values for you to do wood, okay? We're going to click OK as our material is set. We're going to then fix a couple of points. I know you're going to say, hey, we should put a pin on there. Don't put a pin on there. Select that edge right there and select that edge right there. Click apply. That's going to be where the bridge is actually resting, okay? We're going to put a force on here. We're going to set it right there on the top center. And I'm going to put 50 pounds on there. Why not? Apply it. Now we're going to have to set our contact sets, okay? We're going to go with automatic contact sets because it will automatically set a contact set between the web shape and the outer ring shape. Then we're going to do a mesh view. Let it generate its own mesh view. Now we're going to click simulate. And then it's going to ask you, you sure you want me to run this? And I'm going to say, yeah, run it. And then it does that. Ooh, that's pretty. See that? See all the stress it's under? Gosh, all that compression strength there and all that tension strength there. We can look here. We can see the safety factor on it. We can look at the displacement that it's going to go through. Now, this is exaggerated from what you would experience from a 50-pound weight. You have to look at the maximum displacement that's going to occur is 1.28 times 10 to the negative fourth inches. Good luck measuring that. So that's how you run these tests. This is going to show you also like your first principle stress. That's kind of important. It shows you where your stresses are actually going to be concentrated and where it's going to be the most. Interestingly enough, I like this bridge simply because it's distributing the stress from that load evenly across that. See how you only have a couple of spots that it's concentrated, but everything else is distributed across evenly? That's pretty darn good. So hopefully this helped you out. And if you have any questions, let me know. Above all, make sure those coincidence constraints are there and make sure that you are having closed shapes. Good luck.